the radical, fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this Wednesday, August 20th. Still Lisbon. Tell by the colors of the background. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week. After yesterday we did Hassan Pinka's or whatever interview. Where he talks about the frustration of the youth and why they're attracted to socialism. And today I came across this video of a recent, the latest interview that Tucker Carlson has done. It's with woke right Blaze, MAGA Blaze media personality, I guess. I've never heard of this guy, Oren McIntyre, who is I don't know, somebody. But obviously he's at the Blaze. He's influential. He's a MAGA influencer out there, and influencer enough to score a Tucker interview. And to get many views. So I listened to parts of it, and what partially struck me while I listened to it is how similar he sounds to Hassan, and how similar MAGA sounds to the socialists. It's just what's interesting is MAGA seems to be eager not to bring socialism's too secular and anti-family or whatever. So what do they want? Well, we're going to discover, but as you'll see, what they really want is what they're hearken to, what they miss, what they long for is feudalism. Can't make this up. You cannot make this shit up. 1220. The year 1220. This is real. This is not just one guy. This is real. Anyway, I thought I'd show you a couple of clips here, and we'll take a look at. There he is, Aaron McIntyre, Oren, I don't know, A-U-R-O-N, Oren McIntyre. So we'll watch a couple of short clips, very short. Hopefully you don't find it necessary to watch the whole interview. You don't want to give Tucker any kind of support like that. But it is, Tucker's a piece of work, and but he's doing us all a favor because he's interviewing people that seem to matter to the new right. He seems to be eager to define the new right for us and to bring it forward, both its anti-Semitic aspects, its clearly unequivocal anti-Israel aspects, and then the kind of stuff that, they critique of modern American society, and then what they're eager to strive towards. So let's play this, and we'll see what you guys think. Let me know if there are audio issues. But it should work because it's the same setup as yesterday.
Well, it's so amazing because so many people got angry with the Zoran Mamdani in New York, right? Yeah, the socialist is winning. How could a socialist win? It's like, I don't know, guys. Have you looked at the fact that the average first-time homebuyer thing is now 38 years old? Have you understood the fact?
So, completely mimicking the socialist talking points. Yeah, people are attracted to socialism because capitalism has betrayed us. People are. He hasn't literally said that, but that's implication. Do you know how old first time home buyer is 38? Yeah. When did you guys, I'm curious, when did you guys buy your first home? How old you were? But it is up. It's up from, in the 1980s, it was in the high 20s. And it's up now into the high 30s, and that's high. I actually don't think it's 38. I think it's 36. Maybe somebody can correct me. But I looked at the stats earlier, and I think it's 36. But it's up. What else is up? I don't know. What else is up? Well, marriage. Marriage used to be, people used to get married in their mid-20s. I think average age for a male of first marriage, not second or third, but first one, is now 32. Having kids, that's people having kids later in their 30s. So there's a sense in which the need for a home it only occurs later in life, occurring later in life than it did 40 years ago. It's also true that sizes of homes have risen. So people who buy their first house seem to be more ambitious in terms of the size of the home that they buy. Home sizes, average home size in the United States is, Europeans, you might want to cover your ears because this will be unpleasant news for you. But average home in the U.S. is over 20. I think it's 2,400 square feet. So around 200 square meters, over 200 square meters. That's a lot. Australia is close. It's, I think, the only other country that's close. Maybe Canada, somewhat around 2,000 square feet. But in Europe, in England, it's under 1,000 square feet. And in Denmark they buy some of the larger homes. 1,500 square feet in Denmark. It's also true that on a square foot basis, dollars per square foot, relative to income, right? So if you take into account income, how much of your income you need to spend to buy an average home in America versus how much income do you need to spend to buy an average home, to buy a square foot, 100 square feet, 100 square meters in Europe versus 100 square meters in America. Housing is cheaper in America than it is in Europe. So anyway, I think the whole housing crisis is an issue. It's a real problem. It's a real problem, as we've said. The main problem is supply. But I think this idea that people are waiting later to buy a home. Homes are expensive in the U.S., more expensive than they were in the past, no question about that. It's driven by supply. Let's really think about what's going on and why this is happening. The solution can't be socialism and more state control. It has to be more markets and supply and demand driven construction. It has to be less government, less regulation, less zoning, less controls. But it's also exaggerated. It's also blown out of every proportion. Because right now it fits into a particular story about the evils of capitalism, the evils of America, and in that story, it plays to the interests of both left and right now. So they share this story. There's no disagreement between socialists and MAGA when it comes to almost every aspect of the economy. Here's one, right? Mamdani wants to control the means of production in New York by the government owning a grocery store. A grocery store. This is socialism in the 21st century in New York City. The government is going to go own a grocery store. Now that's small-time capitalism. That's small-time socialism. That is small-time socialism. A grocery store. Okay, so they have a grocery store. He hasn't arguing for nationalizing, Citibank or Chase, all based and headquartered in New York City. He's not arguing for taking over, some big industry in New York. He wants to open a government-run grocery store. Okay. It'll be fun to watch, right? But the Trump administration is much more ambitious, much more serious about their socialism. They're not going to go for the small fry grocery store stuff. If they're going to have the government owns the means of production, then they're going to go for the important stuff, the big stuff. So if you despise Mamdani for wanting to open up in a grocery store, and you think that's socialism in spades and it's horrible, and Mamdani's this socialist monster, then what do you think about Trump's proposal to buy 10% of Intel? For the government to own Intel. I mean, one of the biggest names in American industry, since the 1970s. And the U.S. government is going to own a piece of it. It already owns a piece of a rare earth materials manufacturer, and it owns a golden share. Oh my God, a golden share in U.S. Steel. Who's the biggest socialist here? The people supporting Trump's attempt to take over business and run it from the government and actually literally take an ownership stake? Or the Mamdanis of the world who, childishly want to open up a city-run grocery store, and they think they're going to change the world that way. I'll take the grocery store in New York. Keep your hands off my Intel. Keep your hands off U.S. Steel. Keep your hands off American businesses. Keep at the federal level. Stay out of business. MAGA, sounding like the socialists, but let's keep listening.
8 years old. Have you understood the fact that no one you know can get a decent job without going $100,000 in debt for a degree that objectively taught them nothing, and they're actually just doing any learning they actually do on the job anyway? If you've built a society.
Is that true? Right, that people go, it's true that a lot of people are taking on degrees that are really, really stupid and taking on great debt in order to do that. Whose fault is that? Now, part of it, it's the government's fault for issuing really easily, without thinking, without challenging, student loans, but it's also students, his generation, going in and studying stupid things. This is not, society's, the system's fault. This is people doing stupid stuff and paying the consequences for that. But even people who do that, let's say there's some smart people who went in and they got a stupid degree in English, or it's not stupid to get a degree in English, but the way English is taught in many universities today, it doesn't add any value to your life. But let's say you did that and now you're coming out and you can't find a job. It used to be that Wall Street hired English majors, and I think they still do, so I wouldn't take that overly seriously, but certainly some people can't find a job. For a really low cost, you can do a boot camp, a programming boot camp, and get a job as a programmer. All this Generation Z, more companies today in Silicon Valley and just generally in the world are looking to hire people even without degrees. If you can show skill and talent, they'll hire you even if you don't have a degree. All I hear from Gen Z right now, at least according to the far left and the far right, I'm sure this is not true of the vast majority of Gen Z who are somewhere in the middle, is whining and complaining, and justifying their socialism and statism and far-rightism, fascism, and as we'll see in a minute, return to feudalism, justifying it because they can't find a job and they can't buy a house, and they, and the men are constantly complaining about how the women are no good anymore. They can't find anybody to have sex with, and they certainly can't find anybody married. And the women are no good, and the jobs are no good, and life is no good, and the housing is no good, and God, just shape up, go out there, do something with your life. Stop moaning and complaining. No wonder this generation was really, really attracted to Jordan Peterson, because he at least told them what I think any adult should tell them is stand up straight, clean your room, get a job, and get on with life. And in that sense, he was right. Some of the stuff he told them also, I think, was wrong, but at least in that sense, it was right. The whining is just nonstop.
If you've built a society that shows people your system doesn't work. Now, I think there is a much better way than communism, but
I agree.
But you have to show.
There's a much better way than communism. We'll see in a minute what Tucker Carlson suggests as the better way than communism.
though. You can't just sit there and obstinately say, no, we're this system ride or die. We don't care if if you're homeless. We don't care if you can't have children. We don't care if you're going to live the rest of your life in your mom's basement. That's your fault. There's nothing wrong with the system ever.
Well, the system's bad. The system's not capitalist enough. The system's not free enough. And yet the system works for vast majority of the people in terms of their ability to live. Sylvanus is accusing me of channeling boomer energy. I'm the tail end of the boomer generation. Yes, the kids are all right. They're not as bad as you think. Life is not as bad as you think. Grow up and get a life. Every generation. Remember the 60s? All the complaining the 60s generation did. The world was falling apart. The system their parents had created was destroying the world. They would have no future. And in the 70s, the environmentalists, all the young hippie environmentalists, the world was going to end because of, I don't know, overpopulation and the ozone hole. And every generation does this. But what's unique right now is just the fact that the far left is being joined by a far right. I don't think in the 60s or 70s, or certainly in the 80s and 90s, this rush to the far left, I don't think it was mimicked on the right by a rejection of society or a rejection of the system. And remember, what they're saying by the system is not the current mixed economy, which I reject too. They're not trying to reject the mixed economy in favor of more freedom. They want to reject the mixed economy in favor of more statism. They just want more statism that favors, not that favors like the left, I don't know, the workers and communes and government-owned grocery stores. These guys want a system that favors the family and religion and community. And if that necessitates a government-run grocery store or government-run Intel or government-run, U.S. Steel, then so be it. Then they're all for that. But the children, it's about the children and religion and community and religion and community and jobs and housing and community and religion. That's what it's all about. I did not miss your clarification, Sylvanus, but your initial statement was more interesting than the clarification. Don't take me personally. Don't take it personally. That was not supposed to be. Sylvanus, I know, is on my side, is not being hostile here. His second comment was not that I disagree after he said that I'm channeling boomer energy. I just find the whole boomer energy thing funny. All right, let's keep rolling with it.
There's no reason to look at any of this. And I think, again, we're really seeing that shift, right? We're seeing that mentality shift in the younger conservative core. They truly understand, like, if I don't fix this soon, then I'm never having a future. I'm never having children.
Right.
Like my bloodline will end. My religion will fade because it's no longer practiced.
Right.
My community will collapse.
That's right.
I don't have time.
Now watch Tucker Carlson take this and really jump on this. Watch this.
Time to sit around here.
My
and debate
bloodline will end, my religion will fade, and my community will collapse. Those are
Bloodline, religion, community. Bloodline, religion, community. Family, religion, community. It's all they care about. It's all that's really important to them. That's what it's all about.
the things that you are programmed by nature, in fact, in my view, by God.
Programmed by nature, by God, to care about bloodline, religion, community.
To care about. That's what matters.
Absolutely. And the idea that we almost never talk about any of this, that any discussion on any of these ideas is completely, deeply forbidden. Then what are you trying to do to our society? I think
Forbidden. All I hear about is natalists talking about us not having enough children. All I hear about is, how much we miss religion, and religion is so important and we need to return to our religious roots. I hear about that all the time from people on the right, from people in the center. And community, I mean, who doesn't talk about community left and right? But you're not supposed to talk about these things. These things are deep and they're forbidden, literally forbidden. You could get kicked out of YouTube, I don't know, some way, for talking about bloodline and religion and community. I mean, where do these people live? They on top of their obsession about the world is so bad. They've also they also feel like they're persecuted, right? They're constantly being attacked. They're not allowed to talk. They have to talk quietly. God, I mean, here he is on a channel of millions of people, one of the most popular channels, popular podcasts in the world today, but we're not allowed to talk about these things. God forbid. Can't talk about them.
It becomes pretty clear.
Well, of course, they're trying to eliminate it, right? And that would include like my whole family. So no, how radical are young people getting?
More radical by the day. Well, it's still.
All right, let me switch to another video from the same interview. I think this is kind of just a few minutes later, but this is, watch this Tucker Carlson rant.
At some point, when the regime decides, actually, we're against crime, and we do have to have real borders, and like, sometimes, I don't know, we care about drugs, and we don't want the society to like collapse completely, that's when you'll know they have complete totalitarian control.
So according to Tucker, when they start caring about drugs and borders and crime, they'll have complete totalitarian control. And until then, they don't. So the only time that can happen is when they have complete totalitarian control, which I'm not sure he's against.
Or they recognize that the utility of destroying the country is coming to an end.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So the people in charge today are focused on destroying the country. That's their focus. That's what they want. So they encourage drugs. They encourage crime. They encourage an open border. I guess that even includes the Trump administration, which is in power right now. That's the kind of world that the current regime is inspiring, and we'll get to Tucker's solution.
I'm saying, because at that point they'll feel like, okay, we own this completely, so why wreck it? It's our house now.
Yes.
Yes. So it's only when they own it completely, complete totalitarian control, will they care about these things.
And this is how again, this is the classic principle of actually how you get a king, right? Because they're generationally invested in the well-being of the land they're ruling, the people.
So this is the new right's big thing now, coming out of Curtis Yarvin. The ideal governance structure, and this is the new right? The ideal governance structure is actually monarchy and generational inheritance of the kingdom, because then the king has a multi-generational incentive to facilitate good governance, because the kingdom is going to be in his family for a long time, so he has to take care of the kingdom, and kingdom much better than republicans and democracies. They're the ideal governing position, and Curtis Yarvin has a whole theory about this, and how you would choose a king, and how you can get rid of kings when kings go bad. But listen to this. I mean, only under totalitarianism do the people who govern have the incentive to really care about what's going on, and they do care. We know from thousands of years of totalitarian regimes that if you really want to preserve civilization, if you really want to advance progress, science, technology, economics, you need authoritarianism. Totalitarianism is the ideal. I'm being facetious there. Is the ideal. What we need is a kingdom.
Invested in the well-being of the land they're ruling, the people they're ruling, and they have the power to control the outcomes there. So if you actually care about that, if you're actually going to benefit, why not invest your control in actually producing a better population?
I completely agree. I mean, feudalism is so much better than what we have now.
Feudalism is so much better than what we have now. It's Tucker Carlson, that should be a bumper sticker for him. Feudalism is so much better than what we have now. Yeah, I mean, we know feudalism. They had running water, flushing toilets, electricity, iPhones. Their children didn't die at childbirth. Most of them survived. It's just, I don't know what these guys. I mean, it's insane. It really is insane. If you were serf under feudalism, yeah, I mean, it's better. It's better to be a serf under feudalism than be alive today and be exposed to, I don't know, LGBTQ stuff at school. Oh my God, do you know how damaging the LGBTQ stuff is in comparison to being a serf? I mean, this is much worse. I mean, just think about life today. I mean, you might stumble onto a porn website if you're on the internet. You might actually actively pursue it. I mean, compare that to being a serf. Being a serf is like 1,000,000 times better. I mean, how does anybody take this guy seriously anymore? Antibiotics, maybe they didn't have serfdom. And he would say, no, I want modern technology. I want modern wealth. I just want serfdom. It would be better if we lived under serfdom, but you wouldn't have any of those things if you had serfdom. That's the whole point. And the reality is serfdom doesn't produce enough food for the people who live on Earth today. So you would have, less than 1/10 of the population? I think it's a fifth, I think it's a 1/20th of the people alive today would be alive. But we'd have, we wouldn't have the left. And housing prices would be a lot lower. I mean, one of those shacks that a serf lives in is a lot cheaper than a 2,400 square foot home. Yeah. I mean, if only we adjusted to the needs and wants and desires of a serf, life would be easy. And of course, the aristocrats, I mean, remember the people who ran the serfdom, like the owners of the property, they were fully invested in the lives of the serfs. I mean, they really cared about them. They really took care of them. I mean, this is paternalistic government. I mean, this is worse than the communists longing for Stalin. It's just bizarre.
Better than what we have now, because at least in feudalism, the leader is vested in the prosperity of the people he rules.
How did that work out for the leaders or the people who ruled? And the people who ruled, once they got an opportunity, what did they do to the ruler if they had an opportunity to overthrow him? Off with his head. That's how much they thought he took care of them. What were they required to do? They were constantly on the verge of starvation. And every time there was a war, the ruler would round them all up and ship them off to battle. I mean, the population of Europe barely budged, and indeed, through significant parts of feudalism shrunk.
Right.
If all your serfs die, you starve.
Yeah, there's a true incentive to care for those people. Now, again,
I mean, I think this guy is thinking inside his head, wow, Tucker just advocated for feudalism. I don't know if I want to go that far, but hey, I can't disagree with Tucker because millions of people are watching, and this is my chance to to be in front of millions. So I better pretend or say something that sounds agreeable. Because I can't believe anybody else other than Tucker would say something like this. Of course, there was, what's his name, Knowles, who did argue for a culture of 1220.
There is that also exists in a republic if properly managed, but as we've
he's trying to backtrack. We also get that in a good republic. In a good republic, if it's properly managed, he doesn't want to go to the serfdom, to the he doesn't want to go in a direction that Tucker's taking him. I don't know about this feudalism stuff. Maybe there's a chance still for republicanism, but it's mismanaged, so let's take feudalism. What the hell?
Noted, we're well beyond the requirements that even our founders laid out for a functional republican government.
All right, guys. These are not minor figures. These are not trivial people. These are not just wackos out there with no significance. Tucker has audience of millions and millions, and this is not a one-off thing. This is something that he repeats on a regular basis. And this guy McIntyre has a big following on Blaze TV, Blaze Media, I guess, and is part of kind of the MAGA influences on the Blaze as Glenn Beck has built up the Blaze to be MAGA after he tried going against Trump and it didn't work out too well for him. I mean, these are people who have influence, who matter, whose ideas resonate within a significant number of American people. who are eager to shape the future of politics in America in the future, eager to shape the Republican Party in the post-Trump era. And this is the kind of stuff that they are telling their followers. And notice that it's grievance politics. That is, you have to start with these grievances, with how awful all this is. You have to start with the frustration of young people, housing and jobs. And again, the numbers don't match the rhetoric. The math doesn't match. The statistics don't match this rhetoric of entitlement and oppression. And I mean, I go to restaurants all the time in the U.S. and maybe I just see a certain cross section of American youth, but I see young people, well dressed, going to restaurants and dropping $100, $200, even more on a meal for one person. And you can go to 3-star Michelin restaurants where it's $300, $400, $500 a meal for one person, and an overwhelming majority of the people there are young. Now they're probably in tech and finance, and they made money, and I mean, good for them. That's great. But are they the same people who vote for Mamdani? Are they the same people moaning? Are they the same people complaining? Same people who are either ultra, woke right or woke left? I don't remember previous generations being quite as whiny as this one is, given that this one is the richest of all the different generations. And I know there are going to be people here on my chat denying that this generation is rich. But again, the numbers are the numbers. Wages, income, by every measure, income, wages, and wealth, that is saved wealth, is higher for this generation than any other generation at this point in their life. All right, which brings us to maybe something that should upset young people, and I think doesn't upset young people enough. Young people's anger right now is focused towards this system, and it's focused primarily towards those parts of the system that are relatively free. If you're socialist, they're oriented against capitalism, and if you're a far right, they're oriented against capitalism. So young people are complaining about capitalism, but they do have one group of people they should be complaining about, and that's their grandparents or their parents. I mean, the reality is, in this country, and I'm talking about the U.S. now, but this is true in Europe as well, that we engage in massive redistribution of wealth from young people to old people. I mean, massive redistribution of wealth from young people to old people. Young people are taxed to pay for social programs for old people. And, we're talking about Social Security and Medicare. And Social Security and Medicare, added together, are the largest expenditure of the U.S. government, by far. And yet, the money has to come from somewhere. And the only place for that money to come is, because most of the people taking Medicare and Social Security are already retired. So the money coming to pay for those benefits are all coming from young people. Your taxes, if you're not retired, your taxes are paying for, not yet, but in a year, they will be paying for my Medicare. And it's a massive redistribution. And you will have to pay more and more and more and more, because as healthcare costs go up, because the government is buying them, so they're going up. And as Social Security benefits go up, and they go up faster than income goes up, because of the way they're linked to inflation, you will have to be taxed more and more and more and more. And the more these systems expand, the more we're redistributing wealth from young people to old people. And think about that. Young people, by definition, when you're young, you're relatively poor. And the reality is, for most people, not everybody, but for most people, when you're old, you're relatively rich. So we're taxing relatively poor and young for the relatively old and rich. We built a society, and this is where I think complaining about the system makes complete sense. We built a society that discriminates against young people, that penalizes young people for being young, and that rewards people for being old, with government largesse. And remember that the only parts of the government that are hands-off, we can't reform them, we can't touch them, we can't do anything about them, are those parts of the government that have to do with allocating, redistributing resources to old people. And partially because they vote, and therefore politicians are afraid of them, and partially because there's some altruistic, moral imperative, it seems, you have to take care of the elderly. But the reality is that most old people, particularly most old people who are being responsible in their life, have saved a lot of money for retirement. And indeed, the amount of assets that households have, households of people over the age of 70 has, is astounding. I mean, it's well over it's over $15 trillion. Generally, old people, most of them, the responsible ones, have saved money. It's the young who are being denied the ability to save, to some extent, because their tax rates are so high, so that they can send checks to people who've already saved for their retirement above and beyond what they saved. And I mean, this is a massive demand for sacrifice. We're sacrificing the young for the old. I remember when I used to give talks at the Tea Party, and I used to tell them this. The Tea Party was overwhelmingly old people in retirement. And I used to tell them, you should be, if you believe in limited government, then you need to rethink Social Security and Medicaid. Because you guys are demanding that your grandkids sacrifice for you. And they would say, oh no, we paid into the system. I said, oh no, the money you paid into the system is all being spent. Everything that you are pulling out of the system right now, everything you're pulling out of the system right now needs to be funded by your kids and grandkids. You're parasitic on them. The fact that you paid in is irrelevant to how much you're pulling out. And indeed, you're pulling out a lot more than you paid in. Medicare taxes are super low. So for every dollar you pay into Medicaid, you will pull 4 on average. Who makes up the difference, even if they'd saved your dollar from before? Young people. So you want to get upset about the system, but nobody does. This is one where you can't talk about it, certainly not in politics. Then you should be upset about a massive redistribution. And just to be clear, I mean, retirees today have much, 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 much more retirement saving than retirees have ever had in the past. People retiring today, and we're talking about real dollars. This is all inflation adjusted. I don't use statistics in a way as to deceive you. Retirees today have 4 times more dollars in retirement accounts than they did in 1989. 4 times. It's gone from 4 trillion to 16 trillion. And yet, it doesn't matter. So what if we shrunk Social Security and made it a welfare program? Now, I don't like welfare programs, but at least it wouldn't entail the crazy, insane redistribution of wealth. At least it wouldn't entail the crazy, insane, bankrupting of this country and sending it into massive debt. What if you made it so that only poor people get Social Security and Medicare, and that rich people have to buy insurance, and the rich people live off their savings, and you know, including middle class in this. What if you know, this is one way to save Social Security and Medicare, is to mean test them. Now, of course, nobody's going to go for this, but notice, you could cut taxes. You could cut taxes on young people. The government would spend a lot less. A lot less. And taxes would be cut. And yeah, we would all complain, but we paid into the system. Yeah, but that money was spent. You should have complained about it being spent when you paid it in. It's a pyramid scheme. And at some point, a pyramid scheme has to collapse. It has to go away. It has to disappear. At some point, there are not enough young people being to provide for all you old people, including me, right? That's just a reality. And yet this is stuff we cannot talk about because somehow old people are sacred. And this is altruism. Altruism is the force that says, oh no, you have to take care of the old people. The weak and the struggling, but they're not. Even if they were, it wouldn't justify it, but they're not. So, yeah, if you want a radical, it should be radical. All these socialists and New Right, they're so conventional. Like they're reactionary. They want to go backwards. They're so uninteresting, right? They want feudalism. Like, that's so 1220. Or they want socialism. That's so mid-20th century. I mean, we should be radical. We should be 22nd century. We should be future-looking. Let's be truly radical. Let's call for abolishing Social Security and Medicare. That would be radical. That's an agenda. Why can't young people, I mean, you'd think young people want to be radical. Well, let's be, except, I mean, all young people are today is reactionary. Basically, they want to be the same as their hippie grandparents, not even parents. Or they want to be the same as their, I don't know, many generations ago owners, aristocrats. I think everybody on the New Right thinks that if we had feudalism, they would be the owners of the castle. When, you know, most of them wouldn't be alive, and 90% of them would be serfs. 99% of them would be serfs. All right. Anyway, it's redistribution from young and poor to old and rich. Remember TikTok? TikTok. I mean, it's big. It's still huge. I thought they were supposed to shut it down. We'll get to that in a minute. But the White House, Donald Trump, has announced that they are launching an official TikTok channel, TikTok account. They don't really have an active Twitter account, but they're launching an official TikTok account. I mean, from now on, the Chinese government will have first-hand direct insight into everything that the White House does through their TikTok account. Isn't that why we're supposed to ban it? Because the Chinese could discover things about you? Well, now they'll discover things about Donald Trump. I mean, this was announced yesterday that the White House is launching a TikTok account, an official one. And it's stunning because it just shows that we have no rule of law in America today. Just none. Like, Congress passed this law. The law was signed into law by President Biden when he was president. And Trump is just ignoring it. I mean, and when it went to the Supreme Court, because it was challenged, and it went to the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that the law shutting down TikTok was constitutional. Now, put aside whether I think Congress should shut down businesses or not the point. The point is, that the law in the United States right now is that TikTok should be shut down. The Supreme Court has ruled this way, Congress has voted, the president has signed, and this president is just ignoring it. He keeps extending this thing where, no, we're not going to shut it down, we're going to give them an opportunity to buy, sell it. And by the way, rumors are, and they have been for months and months, that the US government is thinking of buying TikTok. That would be smart. We'll have an Intel, we'll have US Steel, and we'll have TikTok. But in the meantime, while it's still being run by a Chinese company, supposedly being operated by the Chinese government, who has its tentacles into it, in the meantime, the White House and the president is going to ignore the law, the rule of law, and, play around with TikTok. Why not? There is no deal with TikTok. There has not been a deal with TikTok. Nothing, they haven't been sold, they haven't been modified, nothing's happened. And look, that's not in the law. The law did not say we shut down TikTok unless the president can cut a deal. The law says shut down TikTok. Trump is just ignoring the law. This is not an if, but, maybe situation. It's just straight out. Now, I don't like the law. I'm against the law. I think TikTok should be allowed to stay. But I believe that presidents should follow the law. And any deal that he cuts with TikTok would be illegal. Literally illegal. He has no authority to sign a deal with TikTok because Congress basically has said that they should be shut down. And the courts agreed. So he could shut it down and start something new. But no, TikTok needs to be shut down. It's strange how you'd think that this would be obvious, even to Anne. They did not, the time to divest is long past, long past. Yeah, the law gave them so many days to divest, but that passed a long time ago, long time ago. Check your facts. He is just ignoring the law. And why this should surprise you, this is Trump after all. But of course, Trump could do no wrong in Anne's world. So to hell with the rule of law. If Trump says so, we're for it. We support it. Anything Trump says, we're in favor of. Anyway, we'll keep watching this. But there's no other way to interpret this. There's the extension is, to sell the thing is passed. Everything is passed. And Trump is just flaunting the law. Nothing short of that. All right. Since we're talking about China, China realizes something, and generally I think this is the strength of the Chinese government, even though it's an evil authoritarian government. They do understand some things that I think our regime and our government do not understand, are basically completely ignorant of. And that is, China understands that the future is going to depend on engineers. It's going to depend on science. It's going to depend on technology. That economic growth is going to depend on that. The jobs of the future are going to depend on that. And of course, military success is going to depend on that. And, China, which historically has been a fairly insular place, that it is not liked outsiders and foreigners, China trains more engineers than any country in the world by far. There's the largest number of engineers anyway. In spite of that, China is eager to attract immigrants into China who are engineers. Indeed, China is adding a new visa type. It's called the K visa, which is available to eligible young science and technology professionals. I'm reading from a news article. Compared with the existing 12 ordinary visa types, the K visas will offer more convenience to holders in terms of number permitted entries, validity period and duration of stay. After entering China, K visa holders can engage in exchanges in fields such as education, culture, and science and technology, as well as relevant entrepreneurial and business activities. In other words, they can engage in business activities, in work. Applications for K visas do not require a domestic employer or entity to issue an invitation. They don't even have to be invited. And the application process will also be more streamlined. China's development, the press release announcing this says, requires the participation of talent from around the world. And China's development also provides opportunities for them. So the idea is to facilitate the entry for foreign, young, sci-tech talent into China. This is at the same time, and maybe a response to the fact that the Trump administration is kicking out talent out of this country, discouraging people from staying in America. We are making America inhospitable to young tech science talent and telling them they're not welcome here. We are, there's a huge attack against all forms of visa, but H-1B more than anyone. And there's a real attempt to discourage foreign students and to discourage foreign talent from coming to America. Now, and this is part of a big campaign against people coming to this country. So, again, China, and this is, it's fascinating about China because China is an authoritarian regime in so many respects, and in other respects, it's developing a fairly open society. Those two will clash ultimately, but it is interesting that they're doing it. So, for example, in December 2023, China announced visa-free entry for citizens of France, Germany, Italy, and Netherlands, Spain, and Malaysia. Almost all of Europe has been added since then. Travelers from 5 Latin American countries and Uzbekistan became eligible last month for visa-free entry to China. And, this is expanding. In total, they will have, they already have 75 countries that people can travel into China visa-free. Now, in the U.S., we clearly have a shortage of science and engineering talent, and yet instead of treating international talent as a resource, every immigrant to this country right now feels like the government is treating them as a threat. It takes months to years just to get an interview in order to get a visit to the United States from so many countries. And then we're deporting international students, making them feel unwelcome, cutting research funding. And basically, global talent is not going to come to the U.S. They're not going to come to the U.S. And to the extent that the U.S. loses some kind of competition with China, economically, militarily, otherwise, I bet that this is ultimately going to be the cause. Looking back 100 years from now, backwards, it's the hostility, for the first time really in American history to this extent, although there was some of this started in the 1920s, the hostility of America towards immigrants, the hostility of America towards talent, hostility of Americans towards expertise is ultimately going to be the source of our decline. And a lot of scientists, a lot of engineers, and as a consequence, you're seeing a lot of innovation in China. Now, China is not a great place to go. But it says something that people are more inclined to go to China right now than they are to the U.S. It says something about this administration's attitude an American cultural attitude towards immigrants, that we are now less attractive than Europe to many scientists and China. China, God. I mean, it used to be that talent from China stayed here, came here, stayed here, and thrived in the United States. Not the other way around. But indeed, what's happening is a lot of Chinese are going back to China because they feel so unwelcome here. And just one example. Zhu Ming, renowned as the mastermind behind key industrial software used in planes such as the Boeing 787, Airbus A380, has just left his leadership role at US-based global engineering giant Altair to return to China. He is going to take a position at the Eastern Institute of Technology in Ningbo, and he's joined as a Chid professor, first dean of the college, and he's setting up a research team. He's also moving all his social media accounts, and he says he feels like if you really want to advance science right now, if you really want to do cutting edge technology, the United States is not the place to be. That is unbelievably sad. Now, again, one has to question how much he appreciates what really goes on in China and how much freedom you really have. But this is the level of hostility we've developed in this country that we're scaring people away. And he's not the only one. There are dozens. People leaving for Europe, people leaving for biotech labs and tech labs, and particularly in I think the fields of biology. I mean, if you're a developer of mRNA vaccines, you've got no place in the United States anymore. Pack your bags, leave, go do research somewhere else. Here, you are not welcome. All right. Finally, the Trump administration is deploying more than 4,000 Marines and soldiers in a number of vessels, from a nuclear-powered attack submarine, to Poseidon reconnaissance airplanes, to several destroyers and a guided missile cruiser, all being deployed to the waters around Latin America and the Caribbean. Really, they're being deployed pretty close to Venezuela. Now, this is all supposedly as part of a ramped-up effort to combat drug cartels and to stop drugs being smuggled through the Caribbean into the United States. But we're talking about Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group, 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit. These are not just patrol boats. These are not just boats that are going to stop smuggling ships. These are troops that are at least trained and ready for deployment for amphibious landing. And one wonders, since Trump has declared a number of drug cartels, mostly the Mexican ones, 6 groups in Mexico, as terrorist organizations, one wonders whether the U.S. military is gearing up to go and fight them and take them out. Now, they won't do it in Mexico. Mexico is a neighbor to the United States. We still have a decent relationship with them, and so on. But one wonders if they're going to do this in Venezuela. After all, Tren de Aragua is a M13-like, gang that is based in Venezuela, although it's, there's a lot of ambiguity about what it actually is. The president of Venezuela, Maduro, has been accused by the United States as being the world's largest narco traffickers. They've just doubled the reward in his head from $25 million to $50. One wonders whether the deployment of troops to Venezuela, is in anticipation of some kind of ground operation in Venezuela against the drug lords or against the Maduro regime itself. It's hard to tell. Now, it'll be interesting to see if the Trump administration is willing to go that far, or if this is just symbolic, this is just a flexing of muscles, or whether they're actually willing to put troops on the ground and go after the Venezuelans. Now, Venezuela views this as a threat. So they have now supposedly deployed 4.5 million militia members. I think that's exaggerated, but that's what Maduro is saying, right? To protect their coasts and, of course, protect their drug operations. And he believes this is some kind of attack on Venezuela. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. For an administration that claims to be anti-war, no foreign intervention, and none of that, maybe they will view this as part of a Monroe Doctrine type of thing, where Latin America is America's and we get to do what we want in Latin America. Maybe he views it that way. If Maduro is gotten rid of, then good riddance, but I don't see any reason or purpose to risk the lives of American soldiers to get rid of Maduro. Maduro is not a threat to the United States. Let him rot. Let the Venezuelans take care of him. Maduro does not have nukes. He does not have a military capable of attacking the U.S. If they're real terrorist organizations, there were rumors at one point that Hezbollah was training in Venezuela. I don't think Hezbollah is training anywhere right now. They've got their hands full in Lebanon, but it could be that Trump again is eager to distract from other things: tariffs, prices going up, housing costs, and I don't know, this guy named Jeffrey Epstein, and might be interested in a direct military intervention in Latin America to show his macho cred for America first and get rid of that drug problem. A drug problem that, by the way, is only increasing. I mean, the amount of drugs, the amount of cocaine specifically, being produced today, cocaine, put aside fentanyl, heroin, everything else, is about 4 times what it was in 2005. Between 3 to 4 times. The amount of money the cartels are generating from drugs is dramatically higher than what it was at the peak of the war on drugs back then. South American coca cultivation has gone from somewhere between, hectares, 100 to 200,000 hectares to somewhere around 400,000 hectares. So more than doubled. More like tripled. Well, not tripled, but more than doubled. So huge demand for cocaine, and indeed the cocaine business is booming like it's never before. A lot of this is due to Europe. The Europe drug habit has grown really fast in the last 2 decades. Europe now has overtaken the US as the biggest market for cocaine. I guess the US, we go straight to fentanyl. Skip the cocaine. It's too mild of a high. Go straight to the good stuff. Also, new users in the Middle East and in Asia are picking up on the cocaine habit. Latin America's cartels have diversified into other criminal activities. They've got so much money. According to experts, 2004 was the most lucrative year ever for organized crime in Latin America. So the cartels are stronger than ever. This is primarily driven by cocaine. But also, there's a lot of gold smuggling They make a lot of money off of smuggling gold. I don't know where they get the gold from. Do they mine it illegally? I'm not sure. I'll have to research that. And then human smuggling and human trafficking. Those are the three big ones. And this is primarily, it used to be all focused in Peru, Colombia, and Mexico. But now Argentina, Chile, and other countries, Costa Rica, Uruguay, are all feeling it. There's really no country in Latin America that's not feeling the impact of the cartels, of organized crime, of all of this. I mean, these cartels are unbelievably rich. A country like Costa Rica and Uruguay, these are countries that used to be completely safe, had no violence, are now suffering significantly. Violence has skyrocketed in both places. Indeed, as El Salvador violence shrunk because of what Bukele did, it's like it shrunk here and it exploded in all these other places because the gangs had to go somewhere. Bukele didn't stop the drug trade. All he did was shut it down in El Salvador. So today there's no Latin American country that is escaping the kind of organized crime, the amount of money they're spending and the amount of violence that they're willing to engage in. It's truly horrific. So the lesson learned from that, of course, is let's double down on the war on drugs. Let's send more troops. Let's use the military. Let's engage in foreign violence to stop the war on drugs. When we engaged in that kind of violence in Colombia 20-something years ago, in the 90s and the 2000s, when we really geared up to the war on drugs, didn't make a dent. As I said, drugs are bigger now than they've ever been. The only way to deal with the war on drugs is to get rid of it, is to stop it, it's to eliminate it. It's to take the profits out by legalizing drugs. But that is radical. That's the kind of radical policy you think young people would be attracted to. Get rid of Social Security and Medicare and legalize drugs. That's a radical position, the radical position I have. And the young people don't seem to be attracted to at all. At all. They want more of the state. They want more controls. They want socialism and feudalism. Quite astounding. All right, one last story, and then I'll go to the super chat. This one is from the Institute for Justice. Institute for Justice, a phenomenal organization that sues the government on behalf of people who believe their rights are being violated. They sue on a variety of different in a variety of different areas. Very similar to Pacific Legal Foundation. They have slightly different areas of expertise, but they basically sue the government. For example, Pacific Legal Foundation has sued the government over the tariffs. Well, this is a new case the Institute for Justice just announced. I'm just going to read you from their post about this case. Right? Iraq war veteran and U.S. citizen George Radis was detained by ICE for 3 days. No charges, no lawyer, no phone call, no judge. So much for habeas corpus and the Fourth Amendment. But anyway, he missed his daughter's 3rd birthday, was put in isolation, and released without apology. George has now filed claims with federal agencies for his unconstitutional detention. Good for him. And we are proud to represent him. Good for the Institute for Justice. Building on our recent FTCA victory at the U.S. Supreme Court, we're continuing the fight to hold the government accountable when it violates people's rights. So yes, rather than have people like Ann who will justify anything that the Trump administration does, even when it violates the individual rights of Americans, it is great to have Americans at the Institute for Justice fighting for those rights. I mean, if you want to support, I mean, other than the Lineman Institute, the only 2 other institutions that I would actively support and embrace are Institute for Justice and the Pacific Legal Foundation, because they're doing the groundwork. The Institute is the long-term philosophical change that the culture needs. But in the meantime, we need to survive. And Pacific Legal Foundation and Institute for Justice are keeping us alive. They're keeping the government in check. Not as much as we'd like, because there's only so much they can do, but they're slowing down and in some cases reversing the encroachment of statism and authoritarianism in this country. And I can't think of an entity right now more engaged in violation of individual rights than ICE, and figuring out something that can slow down ICE, penalize ICE for doing what it's doing, the indiscriminate violence that they're engaged in, I think is amazing and incredible and important and good for Institute for Justice. Somebody asked about Alex. Alex's thing is not a nonprofit, doesn't need your financial support. IJ does. IJ is a nonprofit. So is Pacific Legal Foundation. All right, that is the news for Wednesday, August 20th. Thank you for joining us today. Since Thomas reminded me of Alex, I'll remind you that Alex is a sponsor of the Yaron Brook Show. Alex Epstein. Alex Epstein is the preeminent advocate for freedom in energy, for free markets in energy, and is also the preeminent, I'd say, intellectual in the field, in a sense of, oh God, what happened here? One second. Let me just try to redo this. All right. Preeminent in the field of energy environmentalism. He writes about them. He advocates for it. He's active politically. He's active in trying to influence administration and moving them in the right direction. This is not good. All right, some of my super chat, I forgot to turn on the super chat thing. So some of your questions I'm going to have to copy paste because they've disappeared on me. So just give me, be patient with me a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe this is all the questions we have. But I will, let me work on this for a second and I'll get to you. Anyway, Alex Epstein, alexepstein.substack.com is where you can read his stuff. I think you will enjoy it. I think you will learn a lot. You will become a better advocate for it. You will become more educated about these issues that are really in our world right now. The issues around energy are really life or death issues. They're the life or death of capitalism, life or death of freedom, and just the physical, the material, life or death of all of us. Without fossil fuels, how do we survive? God, why is this giving me such a hard time? Sorry, guys. Got to get this done. All right. Also, sponsoring this show is the Ayn Rand Institute. The Ayn Rand Institute is reminding you that now you can sign up. Pretty much anybody can sign up. Anybody can sign up to take what used to be AAU courses, to take the courses that the Ayn Rand Institute is teaching. You can sign up. No application needed. And you can take these classes. You can take them as you can do as much homework assignments as you want. You can participate in live classes or just listen to them after the fact. There are multiple ways for you to be engaged with these courses at your own time, at your own pace, and at the level you would like. If you want to submit homework assignments and get them graded, you could submit homework assignments and get them graded. So please consider doing all of that. You can find out more about these courses. I think I mentioned that I will be teaching some of them in the next year. You can find out more information about the courses and what courses are offered right now on the platform at aynrand.org/start here. aynrand.org/start here. All right, let's see. Have I got everything I need? No, we still got more to go. All right, 1 second. Let's see. Trying to make sure I get everybody's questions so I can answer everybody's questions. Don't want to miss anybody. If I do miss you, let me know. And if I don't answer your question that you asked for some reason, let me know, and I will catch up on them. Okay, I think I've got all those. All right, so I don't have a running tab on where we are in terms of questions. I can probably do this 50, 70, 80, 90. Yeah, so we're still way behind on where we need to be in terms of our goals, unless I missed some stickers, or I missed these stickers. Yeah, but we're still behind. Maybe not way behind, but we're still behind where we need to be. So please consider supporting the show with a sticker, with or with a question. We've got some time, and we don't have many questions. So feel free to jump in with questions you might have. All right, and Hendershot Wealth, Hendershot with 2 T's, Hendershot Wealth, all one word, .com/YBS. They're sponsors. They're products that can save you, I think, a lot of money on your taxes, particularly your capital gains taxes. Check out the interview I did with Robert Hendershot. It's available on my channel, and it's on the playlist for sponsors. I might be doing another interview with Robert about another product that they have in the weeks to come. But definitely check out the interview we have. And if you're at all interested, then go to their website, hendershotwealth.com/YBS, hendershotwealth.com/YBS, and get more information from them directly. Not a hard sales pitch, just information. And I think you'll enjoy talking to them. I think you'll learn something about taxes by talking to them. Wes, thank you for the $50 sticker. Really, really appreciate it. I'll try to catch up. Let's quickly do stickers. Robert, thank you. Roland, thank you. Let's see, because some of these will disappear if I don't do them now. Stephen, thank you. And Darlene, thank you. Really appreciate it. Those of you who have not done a sticker yet, you should. Sylvanus, thank you. Stephen Harper, thank you. I think there were more, but we'll go with that. All right. Let's start with our first $20 question. Michael. A part of me thinks things will return to normal once Trump is gone. But maybe the genie is out of the bottle. He has unleashed an unstoppable combination of Christianity and nationalistic racism. I mean, maybe, but part of the question you have to ask yourself is, what is normal? Normal was a mixed economy. Normal was statism. Normal was a constant, steady, unending drift away from freedom. So it returns to normal in that sense, and then what? I mean, Ayn Rand was very explicit, and I think she's completely right, that a mixed economy is unstable. It gravitates either towards much greater freedom or towards greater statism. And there is no indication that if things go back to, quote, normal, we will move towards greater freedom. And plenty of indications that we're likely to move towards greater statism. So I'm not sure how reassuring going back to normal is. Yes, I mean, Trump is nuts and irresponsible and crazy and just a villain in many respects, just a villain. But you know, he has also elevated a whole approach to politics. It's going to be very difficult to put the genie back in the box. I mean, whether it's Democrats or Republicans in the future, he has set new standards of what a president can get away with. And you think that other power lusters won't come about to take advantage of those? I just don't see, you know, normal is not good. Normal is Bush and Obama and Biden. That's not good. Maybe that's a slower drift towards statism than the rush that JD Vance will represent. But I also don't think those kind of presidential candidates are really possible anymore, because even if they get in, they will take advantage of the new powers that Trump has taken. Whoever gets in will do that. So one way or another, we're heading towards greater and greater statism, whether it's in the name of MAGA or the name of the left or the name of whoever, that's where we're heading. All right, Silvano says, does Tucker really believe this stuff? He must be insane, right? Or he's just cynically running with it since it's popular. I think he must believe some of it. I think there's an element that suggests that he believes in it. But I don't know if he believes in every little thing. I don't know if he believes in every aspect of what he's saying. But I think the big picture, yeah, I think he believes it. If not, then he's putting on a great show of constantly repeating it and repeating it and repeating it, and embellishing on it and cultivating it and all of that, which is quite. I mean, he's good at it. I can't think he could be that cynical. I might be wrong. I think he's just gone a little nuts. I think demons attacked him. Did he make that up? What was the advantage of making that up? To get in with MAGA? I mean, demons attacked him at night. It wasn't the dog who was sleeping next to him. It was demons who scratched him. What do you do with that? I mean, how do you I mean, that's not sane. Clearly not sane. All right, I'm checking my super chats here. Let's just see. Where was the first one? Ooh, I think I missed a lot of Michael super chats. All right. No, that's no. No. Okay, well, here we are. All right. I don't know why they're both dated that way. Let's see. All right, I do have all the super chat questions. Okay, good. Let's see. Thomas, hearing people like Pica yesterday, I'm struck by how their barely formed definition of capitalism is exactly whatever big business and big banking does. Hence, terms like state capitalism and crony capitalism. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. One of the great failures that those of us who promote capitalism, failed at, is getting a definition of capitalism into the culture and getting people actually using a proper definition of capitalism. They're not. And that really, really hurts us. And therefore, you can get state capitalism, crony capitalism, and all kinds of other so-called capitalisms, conscious capitalism, enlightened capitalism. I mean, there are millions of them now. And all of it is crap. There is no something capitalism. There's capitalism, which is freedom, individual rights, property rights, protection, separation of state from economics. That's what capitalism is. And that doesn't exist. And you might want to blame the system, and the system might be rotten, and in many respects is rotten. But it's not the capitalist elements in it that are rotten. It's not capitalism. So maybe we need a discussion about what is rotten in them. But we do. But to blame capitalism is to misuse the term and to evade the reality in which we're living. All right. Let's see. So we got Thomas. Yes, that's all right. All right. Some more $20 questions. Robert has two. Robert says, Agustina Vergara Cid's OCON 2025 talk has just been posted on ARI's channel, and it is a must-see. You guys should definitely see this. I saw it live. Amy and I will be interviewing Agustina on 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy this Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So check it out. Agustina's fantastic. The talk was really good. It's very powerful and emotional, and but also lots of info and data. It's a really good talk. So go check it out, and very relevant to what's going on right now, and in the news, and some of the greatest injustices in American history are being committed right now before our eyes, and Agustina's documenting a lot of it, which is good. Robert also says, 2008 to 2016, many of us thought it was the most destructive anti-American administration ever. That was Obama. We'd never recover from Barack Obama. Well, here we are again. To be sure, huge damage is being done, but we will recover. But we didn't recover from Obama. I mean, this is my point, Robert. We did not recover from Obama. The recovery from Obama is Trump. And Trump is worse than Obama. So we've gone, the response to Obama's badness is Trump badness. What's the response to Trump badness? Somebody else's badness? So I don't think what you mean is we recovered, because I don't think we ever recovered from Obama. We survived. We're still surviving. Some of us did okay, because as much as Trump or Obama or anybody, try to impose themselves on us, there's still enough freedom in the U.S. economy for us to be successful and to do okay. And they haven't clamped down on our freedom of speech yet enough to really make a dent in our lives, or to make a substantial dent in our lives. But I don't consider us having ever recovered from Obama. Trump is the pain we have to suffer as a consequence of Obama. What is the pain we have to suffer as a consequence of Trump? I mean, does this only accelerate? Does it only get worse? All right, don't forget to use the stickers and the super chats to support the Yaron Brook Show. Trade value for value. You're listening to the show. I assume that is because it is a value to you. Jump in and show how much of a value it is to you with the super chat or the sticker. I appreciate it all. $1 here, $2 there, 50, 100, 200. 350 super chat sticker would be perfect right now. All right, Michael. He's got a quote from Jeff Bezos. Complaining is not a strategy. You have to work with the world as you find it, not as you would have it be. Yes, but what are you working in the world you find it to do? To make it as you would have it be. So you've got to take the world as it is and work hard to make it as you would have it be. And I think that's what any productive, visionary person is doing. Dave says Obama's foreign policy was calamitous as compared to Biden's or Trump's. I mean, they're all calamitous. Or Bush's. Bush's? I mean, they're all horrific. I mean, what makes Obama unique is he's the first, but not the last, it turns out, anti-American president. In that sense, his foreign policy was calamitous. But now we have Trump, which makes Obama look like a child in comparison to the damage he's doing. Michael says, Hassan Piker actually made a video response to your debate with Sam Cedar. Oh, he did. I didn't see that. Yeah, I mean, Ashimi just makes fun of me, if I remember right, the video responses. I didn't realize that was Hassan Piker, but wow, I got Hassan Piker's attention. Maybe I'll make a response video to my response video to his interview. One wonders. Nikki says she did her best she's ever done under Biden. Yeah, I don't think presidents have that much impact on how good financially, business-wise, or professionally you do. Sometimes they do, if it's a particular profession that they happen to be regulating or deregulating. I professionally did terribly under Biden. Okay, under Obama. actually good under Obama and good under the first Trump term, and terribly under well, no, let me rephrase that. Good until, I did good until COVID. And then Trump's first year and then Obama's presidency, professionally, I did badly. But that's because, COVID was bad for the industry I was in, and because Biden was particularly bad for this particular industry. But that shifts with every president, has the things he hates. All right, Michael, since Trump has had bad personal experiences with the IRS and government regulations, he wants them undermined. It's freedom by the accidental whim of a narcissist who feels wronged. Yeah, probably. I think that's a good explanation for his antagonism towards the IRS, certainly. Most of the regulations that hampered Trump were state and local regulations that had to do with his real estate projects. Blaze Guitar Lessons. Why is the U.S. education system so bad versus its peers? Because of progressive education, because John Dewey was an American philosopher, was embraced very much by America. He was a professor at leading American universities and broadly embraced in America as a leading thinker. And he had a profound impact on American education, an impact that he didn't have as much of on non-American education. They didn't take him as seriously outside of America. And as a consequence, progressive education, which emphasizes emotion and socialization over content and method, dominated American education and made it as horrible as it is. All right, William, is going to feudalism community hubs starting up all over the something show? Don't you think it's maybe natural selection ridding life of immoral predator-prey calculation? The idea could be then. Yeah, I don't quite understand that question. I don't know if I copied and pasted it wrong or if it's just, is going to feudalism, community hubs, starting up all over the show? Don't you think it's maybe natural selection ridding life of the immoral likes predator-prey calculation? The idea could be that their end, and then it goes off. I don't know. I mean, so I take it, you think the people who take feudalism seriously will go out and do stuff that'll actually lead to their destruction, and that is a way of nature taking care of the weak and stupid. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Ideas don't work that way. They take us with them. They become violent, and we all suffer the consequences. So yeah, if everybody who admired 1220 started their own country and imposed 1220 on their country, and and didn't force it on any of us, then go for it. I encourage them to do that. But that's not how it's going to function. They want to impose it on us right here in America, on our lives, and they want to use force and coercion in order to get their way. So there's no way for that to actually play out. All right, Mary Aline, what about canceling Social Security for middle-class old people and then exempting them from income tax, property tax, and in licensing fee? Yeah, that'd be good. Anybody middle class or above. I mean, you could actually just do that trade, right? You don't, if you're willing to give up Social Security, you don't have to pay income tax, property tax, and licensing fee. The question is, if the government then loses revenue, then it still has to raise taxes on the young, right? So it's hard. I mean, there's no fair way to do this, right? There's no way to do this that's completely just, because the whole system is being corrupted by force and coercion. And force and coercion have to continue in order to sustain the system so we don't, just completely collapse into complete anarchy. So I don't know that you can save them, save older people from all the taxes and everything else. Right? And You might have to have paid taxes in the past for old people when you were young and pay now in order to fund the deficit that this generation of people kept voting for. So there's a sense in which it's just for old people to keep paying taxes to fund the deficit that they created or that they facilitated by voting in the people that they did. There's no good way out of this. But one thing for sure is I don't believe young people should continue to subsidize old people. And the fact that that's how the system's been running for the last almost 100 years doesn't justify continuing to run that way. All right. Christos says, do you think that JD Vance is evil, like Ellsworth Toohey? He seems dishonest to me and knows how to manipulate Trump. I think he knew what he was doing in the first meeting with Zelensky. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he's Ellsworth Toohey. That is a unique form of evil, and a unique form of evil that's very aware of its own evil. I do think Vance is a bad guy. I think he's immoral. I mean, what level of evil does he rise to? I don't know exactly, but clearly a very high level. Somebody who we should all avoid as much as we can, and a real danger to this country and to all of our liberty. But yes, just look at his intellectual path. You can see the evasions. I mean, the very fact that he went through an Ayn Rand phase and that he's gone through a secular phase, and then the fact that he embraced Catholicism. Why would you do that? What would motivate somebody to embrace Catholicism of all religions and to embrace it fully, committedly, and to embrace it intellectually, and to associate yourself with the worst kind of intellectuals associated with it? There's something very wrong with JD Vance. And maybe he's just a power luster who figures this is his path to power. I don't know. But it's something, whatever it is, it's very, very wrong and very, very bad. Okay. Let's see. Sylvanos, how much bigger do the cartels need to get before they're effectively the government? I mean, probably not that much bigger. If they wish to execute or use their money in order to take political control, I think they can. There are certainly regions in Mexico that are governed by the cartels. The cartels are the local government. Are the cartels big enough to basically take over Mexico City and take over the Mexican government? No, not yet. I don't know how big they would have to be in order to do that. They don't want a direct conflict with the Mexican military. Although as they get bigger and as they get bolder, they might not mind it as much. I don't know what the size would have to be. But again, in certain parts of Latin America, the cartels are the government. Certainly are the local government. Esoteric dichotomy. Working on a sci-fi story with cyborgs, AI, extreme longevity. If people voluntarily live under a CEO celebrity in a corporate town skyscraper, is that quasi-feudalism? How to separate the ideas? Well, what does it mean to live under? Like, how much of their lives does this CEO control? Can they leave the CEO and go work for another CEO? So you'd have to think it through. What is feudalism? What if you read up about feudalism? Read up about what the feudal law could do. I mean, he was the rule of law. He was everything. He was the government. And the government was all powerful, totalitarian. There was almost no oversight over what he could and couldn't do. Is that the case with the CEO? The serfs couldn't leave. So you'd have to read up on feudalism and match them up. I don't know the stories. I don't know how powerful your CEO is and what the relationship is. But it could very well be a type of quasi-feudalism. Mary Eileen, why can't politicians understand the need to cut spending? Are they being dishonest and evasive? Do they understand budgets? Oh, they understand. They know they need to cut spending. They know that there's a huge cost to not cutting spending. But they are driven by politics, which means by re-election, by the need for re-election. They're driven by the desires of their people who elect them. And they're cowards. And the cowardice leads them to be evasive and to kick the can down the road. But there's not a single politician in the Senate that you ask, maybe one or two, who would disagree. Do you think long-term spending needs to be cut? Almost all of them will say yes. And the left will say we'll cut the military, and the right will say we'll cut, I don't know, welfare. But they all know it has to happen. I mean, there's some, those who believe in modern monetary theory, who believe that you can just print money and there's no end to how much you can spend. And the printing money is not inflationary. But they're a minority even among the left who believe that. So, yeah, they all know it. They all evade it. They all suppress the evasion. They all pretend it doesn't exist. They're all cowards. But that's who we elected. And that's why I said, at some point you have to, I mean, I always say, people say the greatest generation because they fought in World War II. But the greatest generation also gave us the welfare state. They gave us the regulatory state. They gave us the war on poverty, the war on drugs. The greatest generation also gave us, I'm not sure, maybe it's a silent generation. I can't remember which generation gave us the New Deal. And the reality is that everybody who's retiring right now sat through the massive growth in government and did nothing. So they can't complain about paying taxes and maybe not getting Social Security in the future. And they certainly had no claim on the wealth of the young today. Anomalous. This is the last question, so if you want to ask something quickly. Being that there is no capitalist party in my state, how would you vote? Least evil theory, third party, not vote? Well, I mean, it depends. Least evil, if there's really a difference, if there really is a least evil and you know it and you understand and you think long term about what's the least evil, or don't vote. I don't know of any good third parties that are least evil, and there's no capitalist party anyway. So I'm fine with not voting. I think voting is overrated. So when the situation is such that the two candidates are equally evil or at least so evil that it's hard to differentiate who's the least of the two, then you don't vote. I've not voted in several presidential elections, and now I live in Puerto Rico. I can't vote. I'm not allowed to vote. I'm quite happy with that. And it's one of the things I don't consider voting that important. Freedom is important, but voting is not that correlated with freedom on a day-to-day basis and what you do and how you live on a day-to-day basis. So we need to fight for freedom. We need to fight against the state, against the state intervention in every aspect of our lives, and we need to fight to be free economically, to maintain our freedom of speech and to expand it, but to expand our economic liberties, and that's a fight that we need to keep fighting. And it's not just our economic liberties right now. Right now, they're running people in the streets. I mean, as I said in this lawsuit by the Institute for Justice, an American citizen, a veteran, and 3 days with nothing, not accused of anything, nothing, put in jail for 3 days. That is not freedom. You're not living in a free country when the government can round people up any way they want and incarcerate them just because really they look Hispanic, they look like immigrants, whatever the hell that means. All right, guys, thank you. I appreciate all the super chatters today, all the stickers. You guys are great. Tomorrow's show will be back at, I think it's 3 p.m. East Coast time. So we're back to a more normal hour for the show. Sorry, Sylvanas. He likes the early shows. So 3 p.m. East Coast time. On Friday will be 4 p.m., so a little later. So 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. the next couple of days. And then we're taking, probably do a show on Saturday, and then we're taking a week off. But I will see you tomorrow. So have a great rest of your Wednesday and a great rest of your week. And I will see you tomorrow. And